Hello, I'm Janelle Calling, and my problem of practice really developed from analyzing the makeup of my students in my classroom as well as in the grade level. And what I came up with is they need to definitely develop more empathy for one another. And I also wanted them to start seeking out feedback based on some metacognition, so what they felt they needed to improve specifically in writing. So my problem of practice is to develop higher quality feedback, both giving feedback and then taking that feedback to improve one's own writing. I started off by analyzing the school's diverse makeup. We are quickly changing. We started off about 5 years ago with only 14% free and reduced lunch. In every year that has increased a little bit. Our demographics are definitely changing. This year we are at 28% free and reduced lunch. And we have a huge diversity as far as students socioeconomically. We have multi-million-dollar homes within our attendance area, as well as government-assisted housing in our attendance area. So there's a large disparity there between the have and have-nots. In addition, our cohort group of fourth graders this year has had many challenges over the past 5 years in our school. As second and third graders, the music program, for instance, for the grade level performances for a play that they put on every year was canceled by the music teacher. She again wanted to cancel it this year, but as teachers we said no, because we do have some amazing students and we have some that have very big challenges when it comes to behavior and treating each other nicely. So within my classroom, I also have a huge diverse room. I have 8 English language development students, 2 additional students that are FEP'd out of the pullout program. So they're fluent English learners at this point, but they are being monitored and one may be put back into the program. So because I have an ESL endorsement, I have the cluster, I have all of those students. Based on our DOJ, they said that any certified teacher in ESL has to take all of those students based on an old decision that was made in the courts several years back. In addition to that, I have 6 students with social emotional disorders. Among those students, I have depression, anxiety. The students have depression, anxiety. 2 of them have ADHD, and then one has a behavior disorder that causes him to purposely push friends away, both physically and by bullying them. So that's quite a challenge this year, and he's very manipulative. You never know that he was doing that because he's very doting as far as in front of teachers. Let's see, I also have 4 learning disabled students. 2 of them have autism. One is high functioning and one is very low functioning. I have 3 students who also have speech therapy once a week. And then I have 4 students that are identified GT. All of them are identified GT in math, and one is dual identified with math as well as reading. So I saw a huge need for these students to develop empathy as well as honesty with one another and maybe with themselves a little bit too. But our district, and more things that went into my consideration for my problem of practice are our district standards and our district curriculum. The units of study that we are required to teach only has a single day planned for students to use a checklist while conferencing with one another. And it does include some revision pieces as well as some editing pieces, but we never had enough time to get all of those pieces in that one single setting. And the students rarely took that information from their peers and went back to redo their own writing. So the lack of time was a huge piece, trying to fit it all into one day. And they also had to fit it in at the end of the piece, which I felt was not very organic. Students don't want to go back after they've worked for sometimes 2 weeks on one piece. They've put in really hard work on that. They don't want to go back and change something they've put so much work into. So I feel like in my problem of practice, how I attacked it is We are editing and revising each step of the way. So after the introduction, students can request from their partners an editing session or a revision session, so their partners read that piece of their writing and then give them some feedback based on these. Let's see, I think I have them here. Based on, I did things like this. These are laminated for the students to use. So each part of, or each step that they take, they can use these sentence starters to give feedback to their partners. And then they have to take that feedback and they comment back to the partner, or they, when they resolve it, they comment on it to say what they fixed and why. Let's see. In the past, with revision, because the district gives us so little, I have tried to supplement. We had these editing bookmarks, which were really just for the grammar pieces, and it included backwards editing to check for spelling, and you just use color coding with different colored pencils, which I felt was very worthwhile when I taught 3rd grade, and I had a big ESL cluster there. But we did much shorter pieces in editing that way, and it just was really more cumbersome with my 4th grade room and with the new curriculum that we're teaching in writing. I had also actually last year updated those bookmarks to include revisions more specific to our writing program, which it's just too cumbersome and the kids never used it the way I wanted them to. So moving forward, I really loved the design process guide. I feel like the empathy piece right from the start just really struck home with me, struck home with my students and my makeup. And I felt like this was a natural transition because we just started our new math curriculum this year. It's Everyday Math 4, and it focuses in a lot on the math practice standards, which students are arguing their own conjectures, arguing the conjectures of others, and giving a lot more feedback to each other. We do a lot more Kagan strategies with that, and students do like sage and scribe, where one student has a pencil, that's the scribe, and the other person is the sage. The person with the pencil can't do anything unless the sage tells them to. So they really walk them through the problem, and then they swap partners. So that communication piece has been huge this year, and I feel like it's a natural transition to go from math, doing all of that partner and collaborative work, to move into writing, to continue doing that collaborative work in writing as well. I am a little bit nervous because we are all supplementing different things in each classroom, plus in each grade level. So I feel like if my students aren't taking what they learned this year and carrying it through, then maybe it won't stick. But every grade level is supplementing something different for those peer conferencing time periods, and that's just how it is right now. I would love to reach out to the district and kind of show them something, if it's working for me, how they might be able to use that as well. I originally had a plan that was quite a bit longer, and I had to scale it back, or more intricate, but I had to scale it back for the time being. We completed our first opinion piece, and we didn't get to use tools such as Padlet or VoiceThread, although I do want to move that direction for the next piece. We're currently just barely starting our second opinion piece, which is opinion with evidence, and I'd really like the students to be able to start using a voice recording tool, and I'm not sure which one we'll use yet, in addition to using the Google Docs comment feature to help each other edit and revise. But I want really to work with my ESL students so that they can develop their oral language as well. And I feel like that'll also further develop the empathy of my students. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope that this was clear and understandable.